Hello, I'm Dane, and thank you so much for having the intelligence to explore and learn before entering into a relationship. When you're living together, when you're being sexual, when you're spending time together, it's very dense, and so misunderstandings cause pain. Getting together, there's often a certain amount of expense, and it's so much better to work on the design, to work on the interaction in a lighter way, right? Before you're attached, before you fall in love with your next partner. And so what I'd like to do in this video is share all of the things that if I were you, I would want to know before getting strongly involved. And I also want to invite you to think about which parts of that connect strongly with you, which bits don't fit. Nothing is perfect in the world, meaning I've traveled all around the world. I've spent time with many women in different ways around the world. And I've never met the perfect woman. And so I'm guessing that there isn't the perfect man, particularly if you have high standards and a lot of different interests. So the first thing I want to highlight is the fact or the paradigm of relationship value. And you can think of it as a sandwich, right? So a piece of bread, right? A piece of bread is a good idea. And we've got apparently a movable backdrop, which doesn't work. So what are we gonna do? I don't know. We have to get rid of it. So this is a great example of what's happening here. Meaning I've worked with this software and done thousands of videos, and this is the first time that that's happened. Why? You don't know. And so, it's a learning process. Relationships are about learning. Now a sandwich, right, can be just a piece of bread, right? It's better than nothing. Right? But if you add a little mustard, a little mayonnaise, some tomato, some pickles, some avocado, toast the sandwich, little red onion, some lettuce. Now it gets to be a multi-dimensional sandwich. It gets to be more and more delicious, right? There's all these different flavors. And that's how I look at relationship, right? So if we look at the relationship sandwich and the ingredients that I look for in a relationship, the first thing is honesty, right? But you can have a very honest relationship without feeling attracted or enjoying yourself. You can be honest and miserable, but that is the first ingredient. I look for honesty. Now, the next thing that I look for is quality time. Because to do anything interesting, let's say we want to go to India for a month. If you have no quality time available, we can't go to India. I can go to India, but we can't go to India together. So having at least a week of quality time where we can get to know one another, where we can enjoy all different aspects of relating, where we can pay attention to one another rather than being distracted with all of these different things. There's kids here, there's activities here, there's this work project here, and then we fit into this little crack. So quality time, having at least a week of quality time to explore, to get to know one another is very useful. Now, the other thing I look for is hard work, but it's more about the willingness to invest energy, to think, to feel, to make an effort, to connect. Now, you can think of building a house together, because a relationship, or building a ship together, right? So let's say that we're building a relationship, right? And so it's going to, take some time to gather the materials, to, cut the wood, to do all the different things that are part of a good relationship. It needs to be waterproofed so that it doesn't just sink. There's lots of different parts of building a relationship. And let's say that we want to be equal partners in building a relationship. Well, if it's just the two of us, well then you would build half of the ship and I would build half of the ship, and we would be equal partners in a relationship. And so let's say that I show up, 8 hours a day, and I, sand my wood, and I look at videos, I study, how to build a ship, I get the tools, I prepare the tools, I take the tools out of the rain at the end of the time, so that the ship is progressing. And so I build my relationship, right? But you're busy playing on TikTok, or you don't have any tools, or you don't know how to build a ship, and you don't want to learn how to build a ship. And so your half of the ship doesn't get built. So I build a really good half of the ship, and you get a little bit done, but you don't really build anything solid. You don't complete it. There's nothing solid. Now, if you put that in the water, it's going to sink. Now, you could say, well, why don't you build my part of the ship too? Right? So what's the problem with that? Well, first of all, you can't do it. You can't do the other person's work. Right? Now, in the case of a physical ship, I could do all of the shipbuilding, right? And then just invite you as a guest onto my ship. But then it's my ship. It's not a relationship. It's my ship. It's the first thing. But the second thing is, in the case of a relationship, you can't actually do it, right? You have to figure out what you want. You have to figure out what's not good for you. You have to figure out your thoughts and feelings. You have to develop the skill to express your thoughts and feelings. You've got to do all that. And if you don't do it, nobody is going to know your feelings. And nobody's going to know what you want. And nobody's going to honor your boundaries because you don't know what they are and you haven't stated them. So you've got to do your work. Now, in a culture such as ours, right, whether it's an American culture or Filipino culture, in a culture such as ours, right, we don't get taught good skills to build relationships, right? And so as a result, most ships sink. If you look at your past relationships, if you look at most relationships in the world, they don't even get in the water. And if they do, they sink pretty quickly, and it's not a good experience, right? So why? Because we don't learn how to build a ship that's solid, that's stable. We don't know how to build it. We think it's about finding the right person. But no, it's actually about learning to build a good ship. When you know how to build a good ship, you can build a good ship with multiple different people. You can find different people to build a ship with. If you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it. And if you find the right person, you're just finding someone to sink with, right? Because you don't know how to build the ship. So hard work, meaning the willingness, the interest, the understanding that it's a partnership. You're going to make an effort and I'm going to make an effort, and we're going to build something valuable together. That mindset, it's not a sugar daddy, sugar mommy relationship, right? That's not a relationship, right? To build this ship, it takes work, it takes time, it takes effort, right? So that's the next thing that I look for. And it begins in the chatting, right? If you write someone a paragraph and they write one word, they're not making an effort, right? And so, you look in a conversation. A conversation is also a relay, a relationship. It's a relay of energy. So if one person does all the talking and the other person does 10%, it's not getting off to a good start, right? So you have to receive what the other person says, and you have to respond, and you have to bring even more, and then you come back. You create a cycle, or it fizzles out. So that's the next thing that I look for in a possible partner. Now, the next thing is kindness. Right? You can be honest and cruel. You can be hardworking and cruel. Right? You can have lots of time and be cruel. Are you kind to yourself? For example, it's very kind to watch this video because, for example, I'm spending a lot of time in the Philippines. And almost every Filipina that I meet has children from a father that isn't paying child support and isn't there in the person's life. And in many cases, abused the woman physically, emotionally, or raped them. One person I met recently, her first boyfriend, or courting her in school, tried to rape her. She called for help, and she was able to stop the rape. Now, the next man courting her succeeded in raping her, and also she conceived a child in the rape. And she then decided that she should have a relationship with him so that he could help her raise the kids. So she had 3 more, a total of 4 children, with the first man she had a sexual experience with who raped her. And then he began abusing her. And then he left, and she's in agony, raising 4 children on her own without enough money. Is that kind? Right? That's not kind. Right? And she's not very happy, right? So she's not going to be very nice to other people. She's a miserable person, right? This is unkind. Now, this wouldn't be worth mentioning if it was unusual, right? But one after another, after another, after another, there's a lot of different Filipinas in this situation. It's not kind to be dumb, to be careless, right? Because it's not kind, this is the cruelty that I'm kind of referencing. Almost no one in the Philippines wants to read one of my books before dating me. And the book would reveal all of the things they would need to know if it's a good fit, right? And so there's a good percentage of women in the Philippines who are spending all of their time and money raising children alone, but who do not even spend an hour learning something about the person they might have the next child with. Right, and something's off with that, right? There's something wrong with that picture. It's very inefficient. It's very cruel. So kindness to yourself involves taking the time to learn, to say, gee, how would I handle the situation if my friend tries to rape me? What would I do? Am I prepared, right? How do I pick someone who would be a good partner? Who would be a good friend and who would be a bad friend? How do you know? How do I learn about someone before being lovers so that I have a sense of that's good for me or that's not? What's my strategy? Having a strategy is kind to yourself, but being kind to yourself is kind to other people as well. First of all, if you're not kind to yourself, you're going to be in pain. And if you're in pain, you're not going to have a lot of patience and kindness, right? This Filipina who I was talking about is among the more rude Filipinas that I've met, right? She shows up late for a date. She isn't terribly appreciative. She does, she's a bit rude because she's in pain. And she's in pain because she didn't learn anything before getting in this situation. And she doesn't want to learn anything now. So I excitedly gave her one of my books. I said, read this, right? It'll help you. But she's not kind enough to read it. So she's not going to learn anything. So she's going to stay stuck and in pain, right? And so kindness begins with taking good care of yourself. And then you can be kind to others. When you don't create pain for yourself, then you're in a good mood. When you're in a good mood, you're nice to be around, for example. So kindness is the next thing that I look for in relationship. Now, it's a good thing to understand that everything can be 10 times better, right? You can be 10 times better. I can be 10 times better. Our country, our government, the healthcare system, the education system, the prison system, the way we treat our environment, it can all be 10 times better, right? It's called 10x thinking. It's a wonderful form of thinking, but basically it says that everything can be 10 times better, and it can. But how do you make things better? How do you make your life 10 times better than it is? You have to learn, you have to grow, and you have to be self-aware in order to learn and in order to grow. And that's why the next thing I look for in a relationship partner is growth and self-awareness. Is this person interested in growing? Do they want to learn? Do they want to be self-aware? Do they want to learn how to make more money? Do they want to learn how to be a better kisser? Do they want to learn how to write better emails? Do they want to learn how to speak English better? Do they want to learn how to raise a child more successfully? Do they want to learn to be happier? Do they want to learn to improve their health? Do they want to learn how to cook better? So the desire and the amount of energy spent daily to grow and to learn is one of the single biggest things that I focus on in a relationship, because it tells the story of the future. If you spend 1 hour a day passionately learning and growing, you're going to be 10 times further ahead of someone else who has no idea what they want, has no goals, isn't learning anything. They're just flicking through TikTok. They're addicted to being entertained, but they're not learning and growing. And so this is a huge predictor of future success in relationship. If you want a serious relationship, you want a relationship with someone who's learning and growing. And you want to learn and grow every day. 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, right? The more you learn and grow, the more rapidly your life becomes your dream. You take charge of your life. Now, this leads then to, the second aspect, right, of that, which is an interest in being powerful. Now, this is more relevant. It's a given in Western relationships, but a lot of what this video is for is Filipinas, because I'm spending time there, and this is not automatic in the Philippines. And so what I'm looking for is, does someone want to have power, to have their own money, to have their own skills, to know how to drive a car, to know how to sail a boat, to know how to swim, to know how to run a business? Does someone want to have power, Or do they want to be taken care of? Right? You drive me. You run the business and give me money, right? So there's a child-parent relationship where the woman looks to the father to be supported. You do everything for me, and then I can stay a child. I have no power. And if I'm not happy, I will sulk or have a tantrum. Now, the alternative point of view is I have my own power, my own knowledge, my own money, my own skills. And if I'm not happy, I create what I want on my own. If I don't like the relationship, I improve it. Or I end the relationship kindly and I find a partner that is better suited to what I want. Do you want to be powerful? Or do you want to be a victim, a child, waiting around for somebody else to do it for you? And most of the Filipinas that I meet would like a father. And a nice father does everything for you. Right? I need some money, Daddy. Okay, here's some money. I need to go somewhere, Daddy. Okay, I'll drive you, right? So there's nothing wrong with a father-child relationship up until the age of 12, 13, right? But by the age of 14, you need to be learning the skills to become independent. And so if you want to be independent and every day you're learning how to become more powerful, the relationship will be healthier. The relationship will be more sustainable, meaning it'll last longer. The relationship will be more interesting. And there will be less victimhood in the relationship because there's less dependency, right? If you can create what you want on your own, you don't need somebody to do it for you. Now, that's a learned skill. Nobody is born and just knows how to create all they want. No, every step of the way, you learn how to make a sale. You learn how to raise money. You learn how to invest money. You learn how to earn money. You learn how to cook. You learn how to clean. You learn how to give massages. Everything is learned. But as you get good at it, you get more and more powerful. Now, this is a very interesting sandwich, right? This is a very interesting sandwich. Now, all of this is more important to me than the next things. And what I mean by that is I would rather spend time with somebody who was old and ugly and poor, with no education, in a simple mud hut, who had these characteristics, right? They're honest, right? They've got time to spend, right? They're interested in equally showing up, in working. They're interested in being an adult in the relationship. They're present, they're learning, they're actively growing and improving their life. So somebody poor, ugly, old, no education, who's going up, who's a sincere, good person, who's improving their life, who doesn't expect someone else to do it for them, is a more effective friend, is a better friend than someone who's rich, pretty, young, highly educated, in a palace, who isn't kind, who isn't honest, who doesn't have any time, who's probably a phone addict or some kind of an addict, right? They're not really present in the relationship, which brings me to the next thing that I would say, which is presence, Can you really be there and pay attention? That's a deep form of love. Can you be present? Can you look someone in the eye? Can you see them? Can you pay attention? Or are you constantly distracted, right? So this is the foundation. Now, this foundation makes for a very, very good relationship. But it doesn't mean what kind. You could do, right? You could do good business with this kind of person. You could have a good marriage with this kind of person. You could raise a child with this kind of person. You could be a good friend to this kind of person. You could be a good lover. If there was attraction, you could be a good lover with this kind of person. There's lots of ways that you can interact when this foundation is in place. So the next thing that we'll look at is, like, what are the bonus things that go on top of this foundation, right? Because you have a foundation, and then you have, the things that you can put on top of the foundation when you're building a relationship container. So, other things. A positive energy, right? You're alive, you're enjoying yourself, right? So positive energy goes on top of that foundation. We can put it right here, positive energy. Attractiveness goes on top of that relationship. Already knowing lots of skills goes on top of that relationship. Enthusiasm goes on top of that relationship. Attractiveness, meaning being physically beautiful or handsome, goes on top of that foundation. Meaning I would much rather spend time with an ugly, kind, intelligent, hardworking person than I would a very attractive idiot, right? But if you can also spend time with a beautiful person rather than someone that has no beauty, well, that's a bonus, right? That's a nice, additional touch. Loyalty is a mixed bag, and what I mean by that is I want people to be loyal to their own happiness. I never want someone to promise that they're going to be there for me for the rest of my life. I want them to promise that they're going to do the right thing to grow into the kind of person they want to be. And if I can help with that, if being close to me is supporting them being their best self, then I want them to be with me. But if it's not, right? If it's not, then I don't want someone to sacrifice their happiness for me. So, right? So loyalty to creating a good life, to being a good person, a beautiful human being. Be loyal to that rather than to one person, right? So this is the framework. Now, all of this, so we have the foundation, that's over here. We have the bonuses, right? That's over here. Someone who's young and sexy and enthusiastic and alive and smart and has skills and things. Those are all wonderful bonuses, but they don't replace kindness. They don't replace being willing to work hard. They don't replace being practical or having time and priority. So next. Next, we have the kind of relationship. And so I want to talk now about how I approach relationships, like what kind of ship to build with someone. And, to do that, let's create a little drawing here, right? So let's just say that that this is me and that this is you, right? So, if we look at me, and one of the reasons I created my website, we have different things. So, we have different aspects. So one part of me is I'm interested in doing nonprofit work, right? Questioning how can I be useful to the world, to human beings, to the planet, right? So about 30% of my attention is in that area. Now, that's one way to connect, right? If you are excited and working hard to improve the world in some way, well, then we can figure out, right, how to partner in that area. Now, another thing that I like to do is travel, right? Visit waterfalls, go swimming, be in warm water, right? Let's say 3 weeks. Let's say traveling for 3 weeks. So if you like to travel, if you like warm water, if you like tropical waterfalls and snorkeling and things like that, well, then we could be travel buddies, right? So it's another way to connect. Now, I also like, right, creating beautiful spaces. So whether it's in my landscape business or building domes or building eco-villages or planting permaculture, if you are excited about learning these skills, working hard, doing these things, then we have another basis to connect, right? Because now, maybe you love planting trees and doing art and things like that. So that's another basis of connection. Now, each of these are distinct, but they're also like that sandwich analogy. Meaning if I have one person who likes to go on a vacation, and I have another person who likes to go on a vacation, talk about nonprofit work, study architectural designs, do art together, that's a more interesting interaction, right? So the more layers of interest, the better the possibility is for the relationship, right? So you can connect in just one way, like I would like to go on a trip with you for 3 weeks. Okay, that's a straightforward, simple engagement. We begin the trip, we spend time in the trip, we end the trip. Right? But you can also have, I'd like to go on a trip and I'd like to learn about you. And then at the end of the trip, I'd like to do a project with you like this and this and this, right? So you have a more complex sandwich, a more complex relationship. Now, another thing that I like doing is spending time with children. I like spending time with dogs. I like spending time with children. I like teaching dogs. I like teaching children. So if you have children, if you have dogs, right? Well, we've got a basis of connection, right? So we hang out with your kids or dogs, or you hang out with my dogs, etc. So you have another basis of connection. I also like to do art. Right now it's pouring art, but I also like doing crystal and bronze sculpture. I like writing poems. I like to, do various visual arts. I like doing gardens. So if you like doing that together, well, now we have another area of connect. We can just get together and do art, or we can get together and travel and do art and do this, etc. Another thing that I like to do is meditation. Meditation and insights, etc. So if you like to meditate, we can just get together and meditate. Or we can get together and meditate and tie in with another thing, right? I love having sacred sex, right? Sex that takes us closer to God, to Goddess, to all that is. Sex that opens our heart. Sex that celebrates life, right? And so meditation is a good way to open up into that energy, to feel closer to God, to feel closer to Goddess, to feel closer to life, right? And so we can get together and meditate, right? We can get together and be sexual. We can get together and meditate and have sex, right? We can get together and meditate, do art, and have sex, right? And so each area is distinct, right? You can get together and do one thing, or you can have a more, right? You can have a simple sandwich and eat that, or you can have a lot of different flavors added in. Another thing I like to do is write books. And if you like reading books or also writing books, or if you like editing books, I like writing on psychology, trauma and PTSD, love and loving relationships. So if you love reading and studying and learning, and I like writing, right, we can have a valuable exchange where we write and read and write and read, and both of our energies, we both learn more, we both grow more, etc. So it gets very exciting. The other thing I like doing is cooking. Right? I like cooking, and so I can cook and you can eat. You can cook and I can eat. We can cook and talk about a book, right? We can cook, meditate, have sex, and talk about a book, right? All of these are independent and they also stack nicely. So you can have a very complex relationship. I also like taking walks in nature, and I like talking, exploring where we're at in our life, growing. So we can be growth partners. We can get together and have a walk, right? We can get together and have a walk and a meal, right? I also like exploring movies and the psychology in the movie, discussing the movie, right? So we can get together and share a movie, right? And so these are the different ways that we can connect or not, right? So we can just go and see a movie together and discuss it. Or we could connect in many other ways. We could just read and discuss a book or connect in many other ways. But what I look at is how many. So there's a formula here. So the first thing that I look at is how many areas. Well, the first thing I look at is there a foundation? If there is, check. The next thing I look at is how many areas can we connect? 1, 2, 3, 4, check. The next thing I look at is the quality of that connection, right? Is it 1 out of 10 or is it 10 out of 10? So the higher the quality, we can have a conversation about reading and writing. But if the quality is a 10, it's more valuable to do that conversation again and again and again, right? We can have sex, and if the quality is a 10, it's more valuable to do again and again and again, right? If we have sex and it's not very good sex and we're not interested in improving it, well, why do it again, right? So the quality is the next part of that formula. And the other thing I look at is just how much impact the relationship has on both of us, right? So this is me, right? And so a relationship has two people. If both people get a lot of benefit from the relationship, you say, wow, I really enjoy this relationship with you, then I prioritize it more. And if I feel like, wow, I'm really getting a lot out of this relationship with you, I'm enjoying it a lot, I'm learning a lot, I'm growing a lot, then, that is another reason to do more of the relationship. So these are the metrics. Now, in my life, right? I might have one person who's really good at discussing books, and we meet every Monday and we discuss books. I might have another person who likes watching and going to movies and doing that, and that we get together maybe on Wednesday. I may have another person that likes to be lovers in the United States, but doesn't want to travel or can't travel, etc. And so, when I want to be lovers, we're lovers at least once a week, in the U.S. But when I travel, right, they don't want to be lovers, or they can't come and be lovers, right? And so then I might have another person, right, who likes to meditate, to explore, and to be lovers when I travel to Indonesia or travel to England, right? Because they are available there and they connect well there, but not over here, right? And there might be another person who wants to help with nonprofit work in Costa Rica, but not in the Philippines, right? So they connect well in Costa Rica, right? And someone else might be very good to do healing work, to learn and grow. And we talk on the phone anywhere. Wherever I am, we talk on the phone and we do growing, learning, and healing. And so the intelligent formula for building a relationship is, first of all, to see how many areas you connect. And secondly, to look at the quality of the connection and always make it better. And thirdly, look at how much time is there, right? Because you've got these different areas of your life. One of them is time, right? If you have 24/7 and somebody else has 4 hours a week, then most of your time is available to connect with other people. If you have 24/7 and I have 24/7 and we have all these different ways that we can connect, then we can spend all our time together and there's no time for other people. Or maybe we just take a break and spend time with others. Now, there's one other piece of this equation that I think is useful to understand, and that is the quality curve of connecting with someone. And here's what I mean. I find that if I spend time with someone, let's say I meet someone and spend an hour with them, maybe not much happens. Maybe by the third hour, the relationship is starting to go up, right? It takes a warm-up, there's a warm-up, and then you start to go up, meaning this is peak value up here, is 10. The relationship is getting better. It gets better and better and better for 7 hours, and then slowly it gets worse. And what I mean by getting worse is you're not talking, you're not growing, you've had enough of each other, you want a break, nothing's happening, there's not much value. And so what you want to do in this is notice, you spend time together and you notice, okay, for the first 7 hours of any time we spend together, it gets better and better and better and better. And then we need a break. So rather than spending a lot of time together and the relationship gets boring and gets worse, you stop it at the point where it's high value, and then you take space. You spend time with somebody else when it starts to get worse, because that's telling you that's your dose. Now, this is very similar to, a piece of chocolate cake. If you like chocolate cake, it's great, right? You take one bite of chocolate cake, it's delicious. Another bite, delicious. Another bite, amazing. But if you have 100 bites of chocolate cake, you get sick, right? It starts to feel too much sugar. You start to get pimples. Maybe you get a little indigestion. It's too much chocolate cake. One slice, maybe two, is enough. And then it's too much. You have to rest, meaning you have to go do some exercise, eat other foods, wait, and then 1 or 2 days later, you have another piece of chocolate cake. And so the same is true with people. There are relatively few people that if you spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for many years, that you want more and more and more. If that's the case, great, right? But if you find that you feel like, oh, it's so exciting to spend one day with you, and then the second day is a little bit boring, and by the third day it's very boring, well, then you want to spend one day, and then you want to take a break for maybe a week, and then you spend another day, and then you take a break. So you have to learn with each person, is it good all the time? Is it good for 2 days? It's really good for 2 days, and then you need a pause. You have to learn these things. And so I pay attention to you, your face, your body language, your energy. I pay attention to myself. And we find what is the sweet spot. If we spend this amount of time together, things get better and better. If we spend this amount of time, they get worse, right? And so you spend enough time that it gets better, and then you take a rest. You eat a bit of chocolate cake, and then that's enough chocolate cake for now. Now you eat some French fries. That's enough French fries for now, right? You eat some salad, good, some healthy greens. That's enough, right? And then you take a rest. So a diverse diet with one person, with 2 people, with 3 people is important. So you don't have to be sexual with everyone. You don't have to not be sexual with everyone. You don't have to travel with everyone. You don't have to talk about books with everyone. But you want to look for, is the ultimate question when you have 2 people, you have 2 people, the ultimate question is, if we spend time together, is it good for both people? Is it valuable for both people? Do you come away being closer to your goal of who you want to be when you spend time with me? Right? So that's the formula. That's the way that I think. And my books, which I make, which I give as gifts to each of my friends so that they can, read. So I have my first book here, 101 Choices. This is talking about how I left home at age 17 and started my own successful business and have, been financially independent ever since, right? This book is exploring the many facets of love, the cycles of love, to take love to a whole new level. It's my most recent book. And then there are 10 other books, right, in between that you can look at, and it's exciting to learn. It's exciting. I love reading books. I have 700 books downloaded on my phone, so I can always be learning, new things every day. So I hope this gives you a clue, right? You don't have to have a relationship with me, but from watching thousands of people in relationship and also watching the lovers that I've spent time with, if you follow this formula, you have a 90% chance of your life improving. Meaning if you connect with me or with anyone else using this thought structure to guide your decisions, you have a 90% chance of your life improving. It can improve financially, it can improve emotionally, it can improve spiritually, it can improve in health. Your sex life can improve. You have a 90% chance of going up. And that's an intelligent thing to do. Right? Now, why that's so important is if you engage randomly with a random person, you have a 90% chance of failure, meaning it doesn't even start, and if it does, it doesn't lead to a good place. Right? So over here, you have the normal way, which follows attraction first, right? You look at who's cute, who's handsome, or who's rich, or whatever, and you just spend time with them because they're there. And you have a 90% chance of a bad outcome, right? But over here, you have this, right? This option, option B, and you have a 90% chance of being successful. So which do you want to be? Do you want to, it's like if you invest money here, you have a 90% chance of losing your money. And if you invest money here, you have a 90% chance of becoming rich? Which do you want, right? The intelligent person follows the path of abundance, of success. And so that's what this video is about, is first of all, you have to be intelligent enough to watch it, right? And so that means you're highly intelligent if you've taken the time to learn through this. And then secondly, right, there's lots of people whose life is going down, and you give them advice and they don't listen and they keep going down, right? A highly intelligent person changes their behavior and their life goes up, right? And so if you listen to this video and change some of your thinking and change some of your behavior and your life goes up, right? You're the kind of person that I'm lucky to spend time with. And so thank you so very much for watching this video, taking the time. I appreciate you. I wish you well in your life. I hope that we can have an amazing relationship in some way. I'm excited to meet you. And and please tell me what you relate to about this video, what you're learning, what you're growing, and how you would love to have a relationship with me.